I'm sitting here today in our RV thinking about the changes that we are preparing for in the coming years as we plan to retire. What if I told you that for many retirees, the biggest dream that they worked for their whole lives, a comfortable retirement, is quietly slipping out of reach? And instead, they're selling their homes, downsizing everything they own, and moving into RVs, tiny homes, or even small apartments in condo associations. Not because it's trendy, but because for many it's becoming necessary. So, today let's talk about why this is happening, what it really costs, and whether full time RV life is actually freedom or just a different kind of struggle. Because I'm considering it too. Stay to the end where we will break down the cost of real life expenses and the cost of RV living and ways to save on those costs. The cost of living has really changed right now. Property taxes keep rising. Utility costs are so unpredictable. And insurance, well, that's a whole nother conversation. And for many retirees on a fixed income, there's a growing realization I can't afford to stay where I am. So people are making a bold decision, including several of our friends. They're letting go of the traditional home, the sticks and bricks, and choosing mobility instead. Now, I understand why the lifestyle is so appealing. We have been RVing for years and love the freedom. That is hard to ignore. You can wake up near the mountains one month and by the ocean the next, and you can chase good weather from coast to coast. No lawn to mow, no property taxes, and no big utility bills hanging over your head. And something else happens too. You meet people, new people, and let me tell you, RV people are some of the nicest people you will ever come across. You form connections in ways that you just would never experience in a traditional neighborhood. For some, it's not just about downsizing, it's about reclaiming their life. Let's talk about the parts that people tend to live out of their Instagram version. There's no bathtub, and the bathrooms in RVs tend to be very small. Now, I don't mind that at all, but some really do. Laundry, which is a necessity, can be inconvenient if your rig doesn't have like a washer dryer combo or a set. You really do need to plan ahead sometimes, weeks in advance, for campsites. As camping has become more popular since the pandemic, reservations at certain times of the year in different areas of the country can really vary and sometimes be difficult to get. Most experienced RVers follow something called the 333 rule. So try not to drive more than 300 miles a day, arrive by 3 p.m., and stay for 3 days. Because driving longer than that gets exhausting fast. You're not just driving a car, you have a large camper behind you, or you're towing a car behind a motorhome. So giving yourself time to sit back, relax, and enjoy the campground makes a big difference in the pace of your life. Setting up and breaking down a campsite can be as easy or as difficult as you make it. Since we're just weekend warriors still, we tend to just put out our camping mat and a couple of chairs and a table, and especially if we're only staying 3 days or fewer. Pets. What about pets? You have to think about their medical needs too. Keeping a file along with their medical records should be right with yours. We keep a pet first aid kit on board, fully stocked at all times, and leashes, plenty of leashes. Weather can be a real concern. High winds, flooding, extreme heat or cold. Many weather events can be evaded or avoided with careful planning and constant awareness by weather tracking. As you can see, my hair might be moving around, and there are high winds because we are expecting rain. And then if something breaks, you're not calling a landlord or your local handyman. You need to handle it by yourself. Super expensive tow and repair I will mention below. Yes, my husband did the labor, but what if you can't? you really have to have a decent emergency fund ready for if that may happen. And another very big consideration is if you cannot do the repairs yourself, you need a backup plan for living accommodations because your home is going to be in the shop. And then there's something that some people say with a laugh, but it's very true. You really need to like your partner because you're going to be sharing a very small amount of space. There's no going to another room for a break. If you are living in 300 to 600 square feet, everything changes how you live together. And then there's extended family. You may not be near your family and you may miss important moments. On the flip side, perhaps mobility offers you more opportunities to be with your loved one. Now, with all that said, people are making it work. For those retirees that are still working, some are working remotely. And some do what's called campground hosting or work camping. And we have friends who do that as well. They have a great time in the summer. They work camp and they get either free or very deeply discounted a campground site for the season. And then they just move on for the rest of the year and travel. Others, like our friends all about the banks, are building YouTube channels and documenting their journey. We have watched as they have downsized from a very large, lovely home to an RV. They've upgraded their RV and they live day to day on the road documenting their journey. They share very honestly the good and the not so good times of full-time RV life, including an accident that had their truck and RV unusable for an extended period of time. And I'm going to link all about the banks below. They are fantastic and I think you'll really enjoy their videos. If someone is considering this lifestyle, planning is everything. You have to think about so many things. There's fuel costs, just grocery shopping. That has to do with just the size of your refrigerator. Propane costs and where are you going to source your propane? And then there's campground availability, as I mentioned, can be sometimes a challenge. Some things that I think you really need is reliable internet. Now, I know most campgrounds have free Wi-Fi, but it isn't always the best. And then something you really, really need to keep in a safe place is your medical records, along with your pets, as I mentioned before. And then you probably will need a plan for packages and mail. Where are you going to receive your mail if you're on the road? So let's bring this gently back down to earth because RV life isn't free and it's not always cheap. On average, many full-time RVers will spend around $1,200 to $1,800 a month. And that depends on a lot. Do you own your RV outright or are you financing it? That can make a big difference in your monthly budget. Fuel prices can change very fast. And campground fees, well, they can vary from free to $200 a night, depending on what kind of camping you'd like to do. Maintenance. And yes, things will break. Our last major repair cost $1,000 just to tow the RV 8 miles. And then it was $1,200 just for the parts. Now, my husband did the labor, as I mentioned before, so that was a huge savings. But if you can't do the work yourself, your home will be in the shop. And then there's something that people don't talk about enough. Not all RVs are built for full-time living. There is wear and tear. Constant wear and tear. Driving your RV down the road can be like going through an earthquake for not just your RV, but its contents. And many savvy RVers learn how to save. America the Beautiful Senior Pass for our national parks is a great way to save and also a fantastic way to urge you to see more of our national parks in our beautiful country. Good Sam, AAA, and Passport America discounts are offered at most RV parks. And then there are things like Thousand Trails. And that's more of an investment and needs to be carefully considered. And then there is Harvest Host, which is a flat fee program, and you can stay for free at places that offer campsites for boondocking, which means you have no water, no electric, and no sewer. So a generator is a must. And most campgrounds also offer military discounts for our veterans and active military. And these things can really make a difference, make a huge savings. So I'm still just figuring this all out. I don't have all the answers yet, but sitting here in our small space, I can see both sides clearly, the freedom and the uncertainty. And maybe that's exactly where a lot of us are right now, because here's the real question. Is RV life an escape from the high cost of living, or is it just a different way of managing it? For some people, it might be the most freeing decision they ever made. One thing is clear: retirement is changing, and more people are realizing the traditional path may not be the only one anymore. Could you ever see yourself living this way, or do you prefer the stability of a traditional home? Chime in below in the comments, because these conversations matter more than ever. And if this is something that you've been thinking about, you're definitely not alone. So chime in below, and I'll see you the next time.